National Football League a little bit. We'll get to the Eagles. They have used 22 different offensive line combinations so far this year. That is the most in the NFL. That's part of the trouble they've had. They've given up 46 sacks, 8 more than any other team in the league. And under all of that pressure, their quarterback Carson Wentz is throwing the ball to receivers who aren't open. According to our next-gen stats, Wentz has tallied 78 tight window throws this year, second most in the league. And so not surprisingly, all of that doesn't end well. Wentz has thrown 4 more picks than any other quarterback. Here's Coach Doug Peterson on the state of his QB.
The struggles we had last night weren't from the quarterback position. It was a bunch of mistakes from all positions that caused us to not be as successful. But as far as the rotation goes, you'd like to be in a little more of a rhythm. If it were Jalen in there, maybe he goes a couple plays in a row, and obviously if Carson's in there, he takes the bulk of the action. They're both professionals. They understand and expect nothing less.
Okay, so that was a lot of words. Dominique Foxworth, what?
I don't know. It seems like he's gotten worse at doing press conferences. His press conference last week was kind of a shame, and this one makes even less sense. It feels like he's like a lawyer, like a defense attorney for a criminal who we all watched commit the crime, and he's trying to convince us that he didn't. We saw Carson Wentz throw that ball right to the defense. Like, we saw it. We saw him out there doing nonsense, so I agree. He didn't get a ton of help, but we watched him. I mean, the glove fits. We got to be honest with ourselves and say that Carson Wentz is not playing well. And the nonsense about we got to get a guy in a rhythm. You don't get a guy in a rhythm by throwing one player out there for one play. Like, to me, that feels like he doesn't want to play J.Hurts. Hurts. But somebody higher up in the organization, and I'm not reporting this, obviously, it's just my speculation. It feels like someone higher in the organization than him said, play J.Hurts. Hurts. And he was like, all right, I'm going to show them. I'm putting him out there for one play. See, I played him. Take that. Like, it doesn't seem like it's something that he really believes in and he wants to make happen. And it's just a mess right now.
I'll say this. While that sounds crazy, I can think of no better explanation, Ryan Clark, for throwing Jalen Hurts onto the field, having him play one play, running exactly the same play you might have run with Carson Wentz and running him back off the field. I don't have a better explanation for how they are handling their quarterback situation right this minute.
Listen, Dom seems dead on. He seems to have created a narrative that makes us believe it. He kind of reminds me of the late, great Johnny Cochran and what he's doing right now, because I never even thought of that. I never even thought of, like, you know what? Let me show you, executives. You wanted to get this guy. You think Carson should be out? I'm going to put him on the field. I'm going to do something that we could do with Carson anyway, and then I'm going to say Carson can do it better. But then when you get into the press conference and you start to fumble over your words, you kind of don't have a direction in what you're saying. It lets me know that you weren't prepared for this. There was only one other person in the world who loved Carson Wentz as much as Doug Peterson coming into this season, and that's Darren Orlovsky. And no matter what Carson Wentz has done, we haven't been able to convince Dan that he can't play. No matter what he's done, he hasn't been able to convince Doug Peterson that he can't play. So Doug Peterson is still believing that Carson Wentz is his guy, and I truly think he doesn't think Jalen Hurts is. And so now when you ask him this question, because he can look at the evidence, he's looking at the evidence, he's standing in front of the jury, and he knows my guy is wrong. But he's saying to himself, but they guy ain't right. And so now he's trying to figure out a way to talk around himself, to say that they're both professionals, to say a lot of words that mean nothing. He's doing his best Jerry Jones impression because he has no idea where to go with this, because in a million years, you couldn't have told him that Carson Wentz was this quarterback, and he was totally unprepared.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to be honest with you. That makes sense, too. And a lot of us, including me, are surprised by how badly Wentz has played. So, Desmond, let me come to you. Of course, you covered the college game for us primarily, and you saw all of Jalen Hurts at Alabama and at Oklahoma. What is your sense of it? What was your sense of him coming in and what he can do now in whatever role they put him in Philly?
Well, Greeny, it was obvious that Jalen Hurts wasn't drafted to come in there as a starting quarterback, and no one expected him to start this season. You got Carson Wentz at the quarterback position. Now, he's a guy you would assume they were going to have a couple of packages for him. I had made this comment before about Doug Peterson is a really great offensive-minded coach, and he's going to come up with some schemes, packages to get Jalen Hurts on the field, but not the guy who you want to replace Carson Wentz as a starter. So, and I think that you saw him fumble over his words because he doesn't believe what he's saying to you because he know he's in between a rock and a hard place in Philly right now with his guy who's not performing up to par, and then you got this rookie who people want to see, but you know he's not ready yet. So now you put him out there in front of the press, and he has to do this press conference knowing that, man, well, what can I say? I can't say this about Hurts because he's our high draft pick and they want to play him. But I don't want to kill my guy Carson, even though he's out there killing himself with his performance. So then as a head coach who has empathy for your quarterback, because don't forget, Doug Peterson is a former NFL quarterback too. Now he's just emotionally strained about how should he answer these questions and have some sort of empathy and sympathy for what's going on with his quarterback without throwing his quarterback under the bus. Like the guy said, hey, the tape don't lie. We see how Carson's playing, man. He's throwing the ball to the other team as if they're on his team. So Doug is just in a tough position right now, and that's why he fumbled over his words the way he did in that post-game press conference.
Nick, quickly, how does this end? You're the one who started it, so you tell me how it ends. We know Wentz is back. The contract says Wentz isn't going anywhere. He's their quarterback next year. So you got Hurts sitting there. You got Peterson coaching him. How does all this end?
Yeah, I don't think it ends any differently than it starts. Like, I don't suspect any major changes. I don't think Hurts is the long-term answer going forward. They're not going to move on from Doug Peterson, who's brought them a Super Bowl after having this one disappointing season. And last year was riddled with injuries, just like this season. I think they end up with Wentz and Peterson for one more season. And then if they don't turn around, then they start making some changes. So I suspect that we get a whole bunch more of the same coming up for the Eagles.
All right, much more NFL as we continue with this crew of guys. Stay close by, but we got to get to the college because last night we had the second edition
against an undefeated Steelers team.
That rarely would we say the Ravens beating the Steelers would feel like a monumental upset. Today, it actually might. Desmond Howard, what do you think?
Yeah. I agree. It would feel like a huge upset if they're able to pull it off. But I agree with RC. I mean, if I'm the Steelers, I'm just going to go out there and try to demolish them. I'm like looking at Roger Goodell like, you're going to give us this layup, huh, Roger? My man, I love you for this. And go out there and just handle your business. You're playing against a team that you already don't like. There's a lot of disrespect. You hate these guys, competitive hate, obviously. But, yeah, you go out there and you handle your business. Now, you can't assume this is, okay, their B team and, we have to take it light. These are still professional NFL players. I mean, these guys are football players. So you go out there with the same mentality that you would have if Lamar Jackson and these other guys were lining up and they were going up against you, and you go and you handle your business. But it's just crazy to me that Roger Goodell would hand the Pittsburgh Steelers this alley-oop like this. This is crazy.
I guess the question does remain, was there a better option out there? The objective is to get the game played. If it has to be played on a Wednesday and it has to be played at 3:40 in the afternoon because they're lighting the tree on NBC tonight, then so be it. We got Wednesday afternoon football.